Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. It's UFC Nashville, short notice main event, but you got a banger on deck. Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font, 140-pound catchweight. What more can you ask for? Oh, by the way, co-main event, we got Jessica Andrade versus Tatiana Suarez back at strawweight. It feels like this is 5 years ago or something like that, but we're here, baby. Folks, my name is Derick G, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe Bomber himself, AJ. Brother, it is hot out here in both respective areas, Texas and Vegas. Hot fights on deck, and guess what? Next week we got a pay-per-view, but we're not talking about that. How you feeling, brother?
Derick, I'm actually very excited for these fights, brother. Everybody gets excited for the numbered cards, the pay-per-views, the big money fights. But this week was even better watching this film of these people. We got some absolute killers on deck for this week, folks. I'm excited to break it down with you, Derick. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling dangerous. And we got some killers, but what we also have is we have some people who haven't been around in a little bit, man, who are looking to really jump back on the scene. And this is some of my favorite opportunities because MMA, I'm sure you can imagine, it's all recency bias, right? What have you done for me lately? Oh, you haven't gotten a win in the last 3 months? You must suck. And it's like, oh, come on, bro. These guys are going to come out from their own respective dungeons they've been in, working, grinding, and they're going to shock some folks. And I'm excited for that because, remember, folks, this is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show for all things wagering, betting, analysis. Whatever the case may be, we got you covered. And with that being said, AJ, let's not mince any words. Let's jump straight into the TLDR. Folks, quickly, break out your screenshots because this is the Bloody Water Podcast UFC Nashville bet sheet right here. AJ, I think it's pretty clear. We got a couple of consensus picks, and we should talk about what those consensus picks are. Let me not spoil the prop lock, brother. Here we are. Consensus pick across the board. What are we talking? We're talking Corey Sandhagen, Tatiana Suarez, Kennedy Nzechukwu, and I think we got one more. And his name is Ignacio Bahamondes. Those are the Bloody Water Podcast consensus locks. If you had to put a theme, as I ask you from time to time, if you had to put a sentiment on why those are the locks for the Bloody Water Podcast, what is your thoughts?
I would have to say violence, Derick. There's one word, violence, all throughout. What about you?
Levels. That's what it is right there. In my opinion, I know that's broad. If you want to know what I mean, tune into the show and I'll tell you all about it. But AJ, introducing this new segment of the program, which is pretty much the same, but this is a little more narrowed and focused. We have our Bloody Water Podcast prop locks. Now, it's not consensus, but AJ, I just popped it up on the screen. It looks like you got Tatiana Suarez. I did not put the name there. Uh-oh, we're going to take a step back. You like the submission prop. That's what's important. Plus 115 submission prop. Now, when we're talking about prop locks, AJ, what we're saying is we're narrowing down one prop we like on the main card, and we're saying this is the one I have confidence in. I'm rolling with it. Why are you confident today?
If you've ever seen Tatiana Suarez do what she does best, it's exactly this. And I think the game plan of Andrade is going to play right in hand to it. What about you, Derick? I saw that Kennedy Nzechukwu TKO. What was it at?
That's right. And we're looking at plus 250 for the Kennedy Nzechukwu TKO. Listen, you're fighting a fantastic kickboxer, Dustin Jacoby. And I think that this is going to once again play in the hands of Kennedy Nzechukwu. I was really feeling the plus 800 submission prop. I was really lingering on it and pondering. But I think that the TKO will lend itself based on their opposing fight styles, and Nzechukwu's been on a crazy finishing streak. So, folks, if you want to know more about why we're talking about these picks and why we're picking these locks or whatnot, you just got to tune in and tell a friend to subscribe. It only helps. AJ, if they don't want to do that, what can they do? They could still screenshot. It's already too late. You got to go rewind the video now, but what can they do?
You can also take a screenshot, folks, but make sure, at least, if you are running and over and betting some money on this game, and by all means, make sure you're dropping a comment, let the fans know, let them know, let the faithful know that you're actually out there winning money, because we know a lot of you are, whether you're picking my picks or Derick's, either way, you're cashing in on the weekends.
That's right. And I will say, if you drop in some comments below and, on the show and saying, hey, this is who I'm rocking with, this is who I think is going to win, then we're going to shout you out on the program. This is going to be a give and take type situation right here. A give and receive, or give and you shall receive. Shout out to my boy. I'm just going to go by the alias today, Kirkland Maple Syrup. If you're watching this, brother, I saw you pick Justin Gaethje last week, man. Smart pick. But you rolled with the BWP picks too. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, folks, we have done enough bookkeeping here and enough of the formalities. Do want to give you one last shout that they have there's a connected YouTube channel to our Bloody Water Podcast. That heads on over to the Santa Fe Bombers YouTube channel. New video is out. You should definitely check it out. And then AJ, any last words before we jump into these picks?
Folks, if you are checking it out, Santa Fe Bomber across all platforms, but go give it a like. We're trying to build that community up here just so we can rise. This one as well, just like all the old saying, man, the tide rises all boats, rising to something like that. Either way, make sure you subscribe. It's fun over there. It's a big community. We're building that community, but you're here to tune in for some fights. I'm excited for this one, Derick. Let's break it down, brother.
That's right, brother. I think you got it right the first time. Tide rises all ships or something like that. All right, folks, let's talk about a main event. Rob Font, Corey Sandhagen. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, AJ, this is a very, very high-level matchup, even though it's short notice, right? Rob Font originally lined up to fight Song Yadong, and Corey Sandhagen was slated to fight, Usman Nurmagomedov, right? So definitely unique stylistic switch-ups for both fighters, but I think that this lent us a really, really fantastic bout because you kind of got the new versus the old in terms of MMA skill sets. And I want to assess the old first. Rob Font, classic pressure, jab, length, pressure. I'll say that again because pressure is a big component of that. Corey Sandhagen is all about angles, stances, high-level MMA, brother, right there in terms of mixing everything up together. Can the old school MMA style that is more focused on one or two martial arts, can it still find its place to defeat the martial artist who is incorporating 4, 5, 6 martial arts all into one? What do you think?
Now, I'm not saying the old adage is true that Father Time is dead, Derick, but this is seriously one of those moments where Rob Font needs to kind of branch out. We've seen the evolution of Corey Sandhagen grow and grow and grow, and this guy's always molding and changing, but I just don't think there's a shot. We've seen time and time again where this kind of style of fight has had its downfall. Mm-hmm. You stick to your guns. You know, you're hard-headed, you're in there, you play by the way that got you to the championship. Rob Font, amazing. And he has power too, Derick. You said pressure, but homeboy also has power in that fight. But Corey Sandhagen, for some reason, he's one of those fighters. They always say you fight to the level of your opponent. Well, Corey Sandhagen, if you're below him, he is going to absolutely run through you. Sometimes he struggles with the the upper echelon. But if you're anywhere below what his skill level is, he's going to absolutely tear through you, put you in a washing machine, take your legs home, take your arms home, whatever it is, or knock you out too. Corey Sandhagen is a very dangerous man. Do you see Rob Font bringing in anything else to the table besides the classic boxing pressure and power?
No, and I don't think he needs to, man. I still think it's a winnable fight, even with just the tried and true style of Rob Font. He is by no means a rookie to this game that we play. The only real problem is can he keep that pace that he keeps with that nasty jab and that pressure, right? Can he keep that over the course of 5 rounds? Because he was slated to fight a 3-round fight. And on short notice, you stepped up and you said, I'll fight the Sandman over 5, which is a very bold thing to do, especially given the last couple of wins, man. The wins over Song Yadong and Chito Vera were very impressive for Corey Sandhagen. But this is the big kind of worry that I have. Sandhagen, obviously recency bias, we're really high on him, is more high than we were after the 2 losses to TJ Dillashaw and Petr Yan, but look at those names, right? I think what it comes down to, man, is when he finds somebody who is not going to evolve over the course of those 5 rounds, he's going to take the path of least resistance. And it's almost crazy because it's a nuance that is not unfamiliar. It's a pretty common strategy, but it's almost like people don't expect him to do it, right? Against Chito, he found he can get the takedown, so he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to keep taking you down because you're not going to be able to defend it, right? Rob Font has some sick jiu-jitsu too. We know Corey Sandhagen probably has a grappling edge. I would say that for sure. He said it himself. He's like, when these guys think they can start edging me out a little bit on the feet, well, now I have the wrestling to take them down and to mitigate that. So now you have so many things to think about. I'm going to overload you with data, and then I'm just going to pick my shots accordingly. Does that become a problem for Rob Font, given that we've seen him struggle against some fighters who are not the most dimensional? But more important than that, man, he's fighting a big, tall guy in Corey Sandhagen. The jab is not to be used in every scenario. If that jab goes away, do we see one-way traffic here for Corey Sandhagen?
Ooh, I don't know about one-way traffic, Derick, but I am leaning towards that route. I'm curious to see if Rob Font's able to put Corey Sandhagen on the back foot, have him feel the power, have him feel the respect, gain a little respect for that power, maybe cut down the tree a little bit, front leg kick, something to disrupt that flow, if you will, disrupt that flow of Corey Sandhagen, because once he gets in that flow state, brother, he is rolling through, and we could see one-way traffic, so I'm not holding out on it. But I do think Rob Font has some tricks in that sleeve to be actually able to pull out and stop him going forward.
One of the things that's also bothered me about Rob Font a little bit is just we see he always has his moments, right? But he always kind of finds a way, at least as of late, to have the moments and be winning the round and then take a massive back step in the round, right? In terms of Chito Vera, Jose Aldo getting dropped just at the last moment in the round. So I really don't think durability is the big thing. I know that we were trying to hammer that a couple weeks ago. Oh, does he have a chin anymore? Listen, the man could still eat a shot, right? Rob Font is still here in game to do it. I don't think that's going to be the problem with Corey Sandhagen, man. I think the real problem that you're going to have is, like, can I find my read? How long does it take for Rob Font to find his read?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's going to take 2.5 rounds because of the evolution of Corey Sandhagen. He's going to be mixing things up. So finding the read that's true versus biting on a fake and ended up in a trap, I think is going to be more the problem. But at the same time, Derick, I say that with not the most confidence because Rob Font is a very intelligent, especially boxer, nonetheless fighter. So if he's able to come in and move some things and put Corey Sandhagen in a spot where he's able to control him, I think he looks good. Don't get me wrong. I do think Corey Sandhagen's the better fighter, but it's not always the more well-rounded, better fighter who wins these fights.
That's absolutely true. And the other kind of point that I want to make here is that I think for Corey Sandhagen, right, we could talk all the praises about him, but at the end of the day, he has to put up numbers in order to be effective. Rob Font does have that power, as you mentioned earlier. He catches you in that pocket, he can put you away. Does Corey Sandhagen ever really enter the pocket for a prolonged amount of time, though?
No, not at all. And I'm glad you're saying the thing about keeping the pace and keeping the pressure on, because if we end up in another TJ Dillashaw situation where Corey Sandhagen has the more power, but Rob Font is just at range, peppering him all day, keeping him loose, keeping him at bay, who knows? I mean, we have seen damage reign supreme, at least as of late, in the judging scorecards, but you never know. You never want to leave it to the judges, especially if you're not the one getting off and you don't have the volume to support you.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is going to be a really, really fun fight right here, man. And I've been really torn because I can totally see a Corey Sandhagen 5-round clinic in terms of back and forth fight moments here, but he runs away with it with the decision. The TKO only lends itself to me over that accumulation of damage. But that's the thing is that Rob Font, we've seen it. Look at he went 3-5s. Cody Garbrandt, Jose Aldo, Chito Vera. He got beat up in 2 of those losses pretty bad, but he never once quit on himself. And you can't imagine at 140 pounds, you get an extra 5 pounds. You can't imagine my man's going to quit on himself. So I'm going to rock with Corey Sandhagen. I really do think that we're looking at the Corey Sandhagen of 2021 that had a lot of hype on him. That was like, yo, this is the next champion right here. I think we're back at that guy with a little more experience on top of it. Give me the minus 270 favorite Corey Sandhagen, and I'm not for that you guys have to tell me on this one, but I do like the decision here at plus 175. How do you see it?
I like the decision as well, Derick. I'm also taking Corey Sandhagen. I think this is going to be a lot closer to fight, and that's why I'm rocking with the decision. But quick question, do you see any value in that plus 600 sub? I see it being sneaky, but I didn't want to actually place my prop lock on it.
I do, but I don't at the same time because Rob Font is a guy who does have some good grappling chops himself and has not been submitted since once upon a time, man. I believe it was Pedro Munoz many years ago. Back in 2017 was the last time my man got submitted. So I don't see it, but you can never downplay the Sandman, man. Very multidimensional. All right, folks, moving on to our co-main event, a highly anticipated bout between the former champion, Jessica Andrade, who doesn't matter what weight class she's in really at this point. You know she's a top 10 fighter. That's all that matters, right? And she gets her shot right here, man, against Tatiana Suarez, number 10 in the strawweight division. Just came back after 4 years off, defeated Montana De La Rosa, and then you get Jessica Andrade. I love me some Tatiana Suarez. I've been high on her for many, many years, and it feels like everything is kind of coming to that breaking point of like, this is the moment. You're back to get your opportunity to fight for that title. But the question here, AJ, is the step from Montana De La Rosa at flyweight, not in your natural weight class, back down to a Bate Estaca that is like, yo, I've lost a couple of fights. I need to get back on my winning streak. I'm going to put hands on whoever's in front of me. Is this a trap game to a degree? Because Jessica Andrade on the what have you done for me lately scale, a little to be desired. But in terms of a fighter overall, we know she's as dangerous as they come. What do you think?
I can see the trap game, Derick, especially because of the type of fighter Jessica Andrade is. She's going to have both speed and power, and that's the giveaway or the give and take you have with the higher weight class she was fighting at a 25, dropping down to strawweight now. They were bigger. They were stronger. That's the kind of problem she had with Tatiana Suarez had with Montana De La Rosa. We were able to see the takedowns not really work, the power not really work. Well, now, arguably, it's still a power neutral because Jessica Andrade is just as strong as any 125er, but now she has the speed of the strawweight. She has that speed, that quickness, that knockout power, plus potential of actually causing that train wreck. That's what makes this a little bit of a trap game, because we can see, especially with the bulldozing or the forward pressure of Andrade has, let's say she just comes in and catches Tatiana quicker and kind of catches her off guard and really ends the fight before it even really gets going. Tatiana Suarez, we know she's not ring rusty. We saw the performance with Montana De La Rosa. But this is another level. Jessica Andrade is another level of fighter. What do you think, Derick? Is there anything to that speed transfer, that power that we're going to see going in at all? Or is just Tatiana Suarez going to roll through another classic clinch takedown performance?
On one hand, I mean, you would imagine that. But on the other hand, man, I'm sorry. I don't care. I feel like maybe it's a bias thing, but for Andrade, I don't think there will be a point in her career where I think you can just run through her. I look at these numbers here, and I think these numbers are crazy. Plus 340 underdog, plus 700 for a TKO. Like, hold on, what? Like, let's smash that. Like, what are we talking about? If there's one method of victory for her, that's a major method of victory. Plus 1,100 for the submission. I kind of get that, even though Andrade is a submission specialist. Plus 900 for the decision. That's the one that I see the most, right? All the other numbers look ridiculous to me because Tatiana Suarez is proven. She is effective. If she gets the takedown, she can definitely submit you. I think she's the biggest grappling threat that Jessica Andrade has seen, aside from, Erin Blanchfield? Yeah, Erin Blanchfield really is the next best name in terms of like a legit grappler. I just think that the moments in between being on the feet and being in those side control positions, those sight control positions, that's going to be the volatility that Jessica Andrade needs to get the victory. And what did we see? And I know it's not the same thing because Tatiana Suarez is big, 5'5", right, for a strawweight. But Andrade, what did she do to Rose, right, when she had her in that situation? She just bulldozed her, slammed her on her head. You know, they were saying the whole time, they're like, oh, they have the Camur. She can't lift her if she has the Camur. And she's like, huh? Hold my beer. Boom. Knocked her on her head. You feel me? So I just think that you can't downplay Jessica Andrade in this matchup. I think this is going to be an incredibly tough fight for Tatiana Suarez. But all of that aside, you do have to feel confident. If Suarez can grab a body lock on her and get her to the ground, we've seen some real issues in terms of takedown defense or the ability to re-guard and get back up to her feet. Do you think once one takedown will be sufficient to get this thing over with?
Ooh, I definitely think it's under 3, Derick. I don't know about 1 because I'm giving Andrade a little bit of credit here because I do think she'll be able to get back up or just survive around to where they actually have to go back and get to it again. But what I was saying in the intro, Andrade's style, that bulldozing style, everything that gives her the grace and the success she's had, it's basically what Tatiana Suarez wants because she just wants to lock her up, get close, nullify that power, get her to the ground, tap her out. It's Tatiana Suarez 101, so it makes it hard to go against that initial thought that I have. But I do agree with you. Andrade is one of the more powerful strawweights that we're going to see deal with, and I think that strength curve is going to be, again, nullified once more against Tatiana Suarez.
Interesting thing to note right here in terms of the takedowns, right? Suarez, even though she's a takedown monster, right, in her last 2 fights to, I guess, let's just call it her last fight, right? Montana De La Rosa, she took 2 takedowns, right, is all that it took. She secured the win. She got the submission, second round. I mean, bread and butter, right? So it's not a crazy volume to be able to get the finish. Only 2 takedowns. For Andrade, man, you look at the Erin Blanchfield and only took 1 takedown, right? She took down Lauren Murphy, didn't get taken down by Lauren Murphy. But if you're looking at the big numbers, the biggest number, man, actually comes from Shevchenko. A lot of these opponents have not been able to legitimately get her down. So that's the other thing too, man. Are we discounting her ability to just keep the standing? Do you think, before we give our final picks, like, can Andrade be a sprawl and brawl machine here?
I don't think so. I think she's too power pressure oriented that she's going to be thinking of throwing big bombs. Even with the when she locked up the head and arm triangle, the standing one against, was it Lemos?
Yep.
She was still going forward with pressure. She didn't fall into that there. She put herself right there. So I think it's going to be the downfall. Do you think she can? Do you think we're overplaying it?
No, you're making a great point, because that's the thing. If she was very defensively sound and played the counterattack strategy, maybe, but we know her game plan is knuckle up. Let's get it. I'm dropping big bombs. And when I unload a 3-4 punch combination, chin, throwing big shots, right? That's really what it comes down to. You have reckless abandon in Jessica Andrade, which you can never discount, and then you got tactical precision and pressure by Tatiana Suarez. I like Suarez here, man. I'm gonna give her the victory. I'm actually going to fade the submission for me personally because that looks like just a layup right there, and I'm gonna go with the contradiction and give me the plus 400 TKO, ground and pound TKO, like Shevchenko style. Crucifix smash down. That's how I see it. I hate to see it because I love me some Jessica Andrade, but how do you see it?
I was looking at that one when I was going over the pick lock, Derek's, but I'm still rocking with my pick lock. Obviously, the submission, it just seems textbook. I just don't want to see it to Andrade. You're right.
Yeah. And the prop locks, brother. Come on.
Prop lock.
Segments of justice, baby. No, I'm just joking. All right, folks, that is your pick. We both see it. Tatiana Suarez against Jessica Andrade. Moving right along. The Hanya, Dustin Jacoby, he comes in and he's defending a number right here. Number 15 ranked Jacoby is fighting, the dark horse in this light heavyweight division, Kennedy Nzechukwu. I mean, this is like the new generation dark horse. My man, Magomed Ankalaev, somehow he's been shelved ever since that controversial kind of finish against Jan Blachowicz. But either way, man, I see this guy, Kennedy Nzechukwu, doing a lot of damage, but he gets a grizzled veteran right here, a legitimate striking artist in Dustin Jacoby. Now, if you look at Jacoby's last couple of fights, man, Osman Mirzakhanov and Khalil Roundtree, those are tough outings, bro. Kennedy Nzechukwu, he was able to get past Devin Clark and Iwan Kutalaba. If you had to compare that strength of schedule in the last two for both fighters, who would you say had a tougher strength of schedule?
I'd lean towards Nzechukwu on that one, but that's not a slide, especially at Khalil Roundtree or Mirzakhanov, either one of them. They're both very dangerous, but I'd give the slight lead to Nzechukwu, especially the way he's finishing the fights, Derek. What about you?
It's funny because I would actually say I think it's kind of even in a weird way. And the reason why is even both guys have fought legit strikers who have legit grappling chops, and both guys had to suffer through a little bit of adversity in both of those fights. So I think it would be pretty much equal. Now, when we're looking at both of these fighters, man, I mean, it's tough because Kennedy Nzechukwu is a freak in terms of frame for this division, man. He's 6'5", 83-inch reach, looking like a John Jones, right? And then Dustin Jacoby, 6'3", 76-inch reach. So off the bat, we have to address there is a 7-inch reach disadvantage for Dustin Jacoby, who is primarily a kickboxer. What is the path to victory?
Ooh, leg kicks and cutting corners, I think, man, because we've seen Dustin Jacoby not have the ground skills to be able to get this to the ground. So he's going to be ducking, swerving, anything he can to avoid the power of Nzechukwu, because you're right, Jacoby is used to being the bigger, longer tactician on the outside, fighting a very technical kickboxing match. And when he is in that kind of fight, he does well. I've doubted Dustin Jacoby multiple times, and I've been proven wrong on those occasions because he is very technically sound. But against this new breed of individual in Nzechukwu, this dude comes in. He's also very technically sound, but he still has a little bit of chaos in him that's just able to hit you on the spots you don't see. He's punching at your shoulders, and when you duck, he hits you in the chin. It's a very fluid but also kind of crazy style Nzechukwu has that gets him very far. I'm excited to see where this kid goes because you're right, Derek. He's the new school type of fighter we like seeing, but he's also what? No, I was looking at the wrong one. There you go. 31. So he's not young, but I'd say this guy's got another, 6-7 years or something in him to develop and grow. He's got a lot to go, and Dustin Jacoby arguably needs this win after those two losses.
Yeah, I would say Kennedy Nzechukwu is definitely entering his prime right now, and he's figuring it out too. That's the thing, is that Nzechukwu has proven to be the guy that you have to put out. You have to put out in order to be able to get past him, right? The most interesting fight that I saw is the Dawoon Jung fight, right? Where Nzechukwu got finished and Jacoby was able to finish him in one round. Like, that was really telling to me because it's weird MMA math. But aside from that, I'm just going to be realistic about it. I see Dustin Jacoby being able to have some success volume-wise. I just think everything that will be majorly impactful and, like, the majority of the damage will be caused by Kennedy Nzechukwu, which leans for me to say, because I was really looking at that plus 800 submission prop, and I was like, man, can he just pressure Jacoby, catch him in another standing guillotine, or, get him on the ground in arm triangle and just utilize that? Like, can he? And I'm like, yes, he can. But if you look at the way Jacoby's career has gone, you don't see him getting submitted. You don't really see him losing very often, first and foremost. Let's address that. But when you're long, got a 7-inch reach advantage, and you catch dudes at the end of your punches, you oftentimes drop them and get them out of there. I think Kennedy Nzechukwu finishes him, but do you see Dustin Jacoby, do you see him being able to get a finish himself?
No, I actually don't. Unfortunately for the camp of Jacoby, I see him winning the 3-round fight, the distance, the measured approach, the classic kickboxing style. But man, the problem is with Kennedy Nzechukwu throwing absolute ham hocks at you, and Dustin Jacoby, he has a tendency to sit in the corner, if you would. Like he'll stay there and be able, looking in the mirror, trading shots with you. It gets a little precarious at times.
Yeah, I like Nzechukwu here. I think it's fair to say I'm going to rock with that plus 250 TKO. That is going to be my prop lock of the night. Cash it, folks. AJ, how you see it?
Yeah, Derick, it's hard not to choose that TKO. I don't see a sub happening here, but I do see a world where it does happen. I'm going to have to rock with a TKO with you. Give me Kennedy Nzechukwu. I think it'll happen in the third, though.
Oh, I see it earlier than that, man. Give me first or second for that one, but we will see. All right, now, AJ, I felt like those first couple of bouts that we just went down, those are notable fighters, right? That's the first half of the docket. Now we're going to move on to some new names, some old faces, stuff like that. And we have a new name and an old face. Diego Lopes made a super hot impression onto the scene after his loss to Movsar Evloev, even though it was a very valiant and formidable approach. Now, he fights a guy, man, who's coming off of a nasty loss. One loss that's honestly, man, it's weird because I don't know what happened. He was on such a hot streak. He loses one fight, and then you don't see him for 2 years. Gavin Tucker got flash KO'd, one hitter quitter by Dan Ige, and we don't know what happened to him. Do you know what happened to Gavin Tucker?
Not a clue, Derick. In fact, when I was looking this up and I saw that it was 2 years ago, I was like, damn, that is wild. It seems like it was a lot shorter. Yeah. He might have just been recovering. Sometimes you need to heal that chin up, I guess.
And he had a lot of steam on him too, bro. Yeah, you come in, you lose to Ricky Glenn, whatever, right? That's an OG veteran. You string off 3-win fight streak against Justin James, who was a hot name at the time, Billy Quarantillo. That is definitely, how would you say, that fight has aged very well. There you go. And then lastly, you got Sting Woo Choi, right? Those are big wins, man. Gavin Tucker's a really good fighter. So to see that kind of 2-year layoff, it's like, oh, what happened? But then you got a more active guy here in Diego Lopes, who hasn't fought many times over the last couple of years, right? But it's roughly about 2-3 a year, which is like your standard. Now, how do you describe this fight, AJ? I would say you have volatile explosiveness, finishing capacities for Diego Lopes, and then if you're Gavin Tucker, bro, you got a lot of that same stuff. It's just more composed and technical. How would you break this fight down?
That I would give it to the very sorry, Derick, stuttering over here. I would go very akin to what you're saying, because when you were saying, explosive power and all this stuff at the beginning, I thought you were going to say for Gavin Tucker. And in fact, Diego Lopes is also that very same way. I do think he's a little slick. Diego Lopes is a little slicker on the ground. Gavin Tucker's more of that pressure, power oriented. If we're going to see him on the ground, it's going to be on top. But I actually see these boys slinging it out unless one of them gets hurt, and then they fall into it, ground and pound. They kind of mix it up from there. This is a hard one, Derick, because this wasn't a lock one way or other for me. I went multiple hours over this one, just watching tape back and forth. Diego Lopes, as much as he came in and lost that fight to Movsar Evloev, he showed up. He showed up, and I think it was like 3-4, some short notice, because he was a coach of a fighter that was fighting on the card. And apologies that I forgot that fighter's name too. But still, to show up and do that and have the performance, you lose and you get a bump. Like, this guy, Diego Lopes, is an absolute problem. I'm excited to see what he does on a full week's training camp when he's mentally sound, ready to go in there and scrap, knows who he's fighting. This is going to be an interesting one. I see this as a toss-up. It's very, very close on the odds, Derick. Do you see it being that kind of washing machine back and forth style of fight, or are we just in it for a quick one right here?
No, I can definitely see that, but I can also see one-way traffic in a very odd way here. Now, let's not forget that Diego Lopes is Alexa Grasso's jiu-jitsu coach, right? So he's down there in that camp. But if you're looking at the odds, what I thought was interesting is that Gavin Tucker opened up as an underdog here. I thought he'd be the favorite. And the reason why is because if you look at his style technically, I think he's stand-up-wise much more technical fighter than Diego Lopes. He will pin you down, cut off the cage, lock you in the corner, and start teeing off on you. Lopes is like, I'm a wild man. Let's swing and bang, baby. But that's the danger right there for Gavin Tucker, is that sometimes that volatility and that unpredictable style can lead to openings that aren't normally there. So that's where I see the openings to get the fight to the ground for Lopes. It's I blast you with that right cross, and then I hit you with a two-piece, a couple of hooks. Next thing I know, I'm at closing distance. I got a body lock, and now I'm inverting and grabbing your heel and going for a heel hook. You know what I mean? Like, the thing about Gavin Tucker is we saw it in the Danny Ige fight for sure. We saw it in the Justin James fight for sure. When you pressure him and you throw multiple shots at once and you hide a shot, so you throw that right hand right behind the jab, he gets caught by those things, man. Like, kind of consistently, and it's a little interesting to see. So Diego Lopes has the style that presents that. Do you see real trouble happening if this is a purely stand-up fight, or do you think that Lopes has to get it to the ground to make this interesting?
No, I see this being a very fun fight, both on the feet and on the ground. Diego Lopes, like I said, has the advantage on the ground, in my opinion. But together, when they're standing up, Gavin Tucker has this, like, another, not small, because he's not a small dude, but he has, like, this compact, tight form. And that does lend a problem to Gavin, or to Diego Lopes, when he's just in there swinging. It's both a pro and a con for both guys fighting in this one. So I think we're in store for a barn burner, Derick.
You really brought up the point that I wanted to say for last. This is the best part. People also don't quite understand. Diego Lopes is a monster of a man at 145 pounds. My man is 5'11". What? 72-inch reach? Gavin Tucker, 5'6", 66-inch reach. For comparison, my fiance is 5'6", bro. I'm 6 foot. Like, that is a major, that's like not a small difference. That is a major difference. So given the frame of these two fighters, Gavin Tucker might not particularly be able to kind of stick to the tried and true, I'll walk you down and be technical, when you got a monster of a man standing in front of you, right?
Yeah, you're right, Derick. And that's why I was going so much back and forth between these fights, because this is such a close one. I can see Gavin Tucker having the ability to pull a Mike Tyson, get up on the inside, beat him to the body, hurt him up on the head, kind of cutting corners and not really allowing the big guy to kind of lumber over you. But at the same point, Diego Lopes is not a lumbering kind of fighter. This boy's slick and he's there for the chaos. This one's going to be a fun one regardless. I'm still, in my opinion, I think Gavin Tucker pulls this one out. I'm going Gavin Tucker, and I'm actually going to go by decision, Derick. I don't know about you, but I do see this fight being very, very fun, but lasting the distance. What do you think?
I've seen Gavin Tucker fall into some submission traps before. He's very tough, and it's hard to get that man out of there. So it's hard to say, oh yeah, Lopes submits him, even though that's his game. He's a submission artist. But I'll tell you, there's some of those guys who, when they're really good at what they do, it does not matter who you are, they'll find how to get that submission. I'm going to rock with that plus 225 Diego Lopes sub. But for devil's advocate here, I see so much value in a plus 250 decision on Gavin Tucker. I see so much value there that I think that you should sprinkle that regardless. Or if you want to stay away from this altogether, just throw a little something on that plus 250. Or worst case scenario, over 2.5 rounds. Take the bet, you know what I mean? And then keep it running from there. Any other thoughts on this one, AJ?
No, I like it, Derick. I actually like that over 2.5. I do. If there's a finish, it's going to come late, and I do think this one's going to decision personally.
All right, fair play. Now, another blast from the past. We got Tanner Boser, a regular fixture here, new to light heavyweight, former heavyweight. Never was really a heavyweight, right? And he's fighting Alexa Camur, right? So Alexa Camur, man, the thing about this guy is that he doesn't have a ton of experience, and that when people see him and they see, oh, okay, you lost your last couple of fights, they're probably having a lot of thoughts. They see Tanner Boser, who has also lost 4 of his last 5 fights, open up as a minus 180 favorite, and I think that immediately tells a lot of the majority of people, the casual people, right? Oh, Tanner Boser is going to wash this guy, Alexa Camur. I think that's a very dangerous thought to put in your head, and I think that though Tanner Boser, this is probably the most winnable fight of the last 5 that he's had, I think if he underrates Alexa Camur or discounts him, he's going to end up in a world of hurt. What do you think?
I 100% agree with you, Derick. I couldn't agree more. I'm even in the Boser camp on this one. I like him at light heavyweight. I like him being the faster, kind of slimmer version of himself, because now he blends right in. And to that fact, Camur, this dude's a big dude, bro. So he's going to be a problem in there. Yep. And he's also very, very hungry with 2 losses on his record as well. So this is another fight, Derick. I'm glad these are the ones that weren't the consensus pick, because they're so close back and forth. I can see Camur going in there, beating Boser up, really working the power, the pressure, and continuing to pressure him throughout the entire fight. Where Tanner Boser, I can also see him being slick, using his own power, using the heavyweight power that came with him, and maybe catching a knockout. But these fights are very, very close. They can't discount one fighter or the other. Do you see this one hitting the ground at all, or are we in it for a slugfest?
You know, that was going to be a really big part. I was thinking about that a lot because that was a big part on who I was going to decide who I thought would win, right? And I felt like if Tanner Boser could really capitalize on some of the grappling deficiencies that Alexa Camur has, I think that you really got to go Tanner Boser here. But then I was like, wait, how much offensive wrestling does Boser do? And then you look at it and you're like, none. Like he doesn't. He'll clinch you up, right? Which is fair, okay, but there's no offensive wrestling. And I think the problem is because a lot of his losses have come from him being put on his back. So you get a very winnable fight here. You get a fight where, generally speaking, if everything goes according to how we've seen these fights play out, it's going to be a standing fight with a lot of clinch work against the cage. Good news is Tanner Boser is the bigger fighter, which is good because you get to play off of that heavyweight experience. Bad news is Alexa Camur is absolutely the more polished, slick striker, like by far. It's not even close, in my opinion, right here. And if he can get off and he can land the big shots, I feel like we've seen Boser, even though he's been at heavyweight, I feel like we see him struggle with the powerful guys, man. And Camur is not just fast. He's fast and powerful and has good movement and head movement. So what is the key to victory for Tanner Boser? Is it just pick him apart and try not to get hit? Like, I mean, what is your game plan? If you're his coach, what is your game plan?
If I'm his coach, man, that's exactly it, Derek. Cut off the cage, clinch him up, and just bludgeon the kid until he doesn't really want to fight you anymore, and then you're in your kind of style of fight. That being said, this plays in my head, especially as of recently, Derek. We've seen a lot of the older kind of fighters get taken out by these young kids coming in, and this is one of those style of fights where Tanner Boser, as much as he's not, at least in the media popularity anymore, he's a veteran nonetheless. This dude can squabble with the best of them. And Camur is coming up in the ranks and proving, even with his two losses, Nick Negamarianu and both William Knight, he survived both of them. He only took them all the way. So he's not a slouch at all. And I do think the speed's going to have a problem. So if I'm Tanner Boser, avoid the speed, shut him down, especially if he's throwing a jab, kick the front leg, something, make him fight off his back foot and nullify that power and really start to work your own fight. You got to be feeling yourself on this one for Boser, but I don't know. I always say that with Boser, and sometimes he just doesn't perform to that kind of aspect. Do you see this one, Derek, actually coming in and being exciting, action-packed right off the jump, or are we in for another 3-round fight?
I think this is going to be action-packed. I think someone's going to be on their bike. Someone has to be on their bike because if these two sit and trade, someone's getting knocked out real quick. You know what I mean? So someone has to be on the bike. I do think that Tanner Boser is a highly, highly skilled fighter who I have backed in a majority of the fights that he has not won, which sours me a little bit from a wagering perspective. And, I mean, listen, if you cut off that cage and you start clinching him up, I just think you got to do work. I think if you let this fight stay at range, one of Camur's best striking aspects are his kicks. But Boser too. Boser is a kicking guy too. But whoever does the most impact to the body early, I think wins the fight, especially if this goes long. Because both of these guys, I can see having a little bit of an issue. Once rounds 2 and round 3 hit, they slow down. And it's like, ooh, okay, now we got to figure out. I'll just say, listen, I like Alexa Camur. I'm actually going to take, and I know this is not going to be popular, I'm going to take a decision victory right here for Alexa Camur. If you can go to a split against Nicholas Negamarianu, who is a pace machine, a warrior who eats 1,000,000 shots without being damaged, and when you had that whole clinch battle, takedown battle against William Knight, you didn't get finished and you were able to muscle him around, I really like his prospects here. This is going to be my dog play on the night. Give me Alexa Camur decision. How you see it?
I actually really like Alexa Camur in this one for all the reasons you're saying, Derek, but I'm going to rock with Tanner Boser. I think he's going to be able to win the long battle right here, so I'm taking him at that plus 150 decision, whether it's popular or not. I think the big body and the power that he's going to preside over in that cage against Camur is going to do wonders for Boser. Like I said, I like him in the distance, but we'll see that gas tank. We'll see how it fares at the end of the fight.
That's right. We will see. All right. And to open us up, this is opening bout for a reason. Ignacio Bahamondes versus Ludovic Klein. Like, this is just violence written all over it. The only problem that we have here, AJ, is once again, you have a massive frame difference here between Bahamondes and Klein. And what's crazy is that just because Bahamondes is 6'3" and Ludovic Klein is 5'7", that I don't think that's going to be the biggest reason why this fight is going to end out the way that it is. I think that ultimately, man, Klein is a guy who is going to, once again, get in front of you, cut off the cage, trap you in a corner, and then he's going to start picking his shots very strategically. But if I'm going to be a betting man here, which of course I am, Bloody Water Podcast, you know, I think he tries to get this fight to the ground and keep Bahamondes there, bro. What do you think?
That's what all of Bahamondes' opponents have been trying to do in his last 3 or 4 fights, Derick. Everybody knows that he got to get this kid to the ground, because if you don't, he's going to be the one on the front foot just blasting shots in your face. And when he does, they stud, bro. They're not just little pitter-patter shots. Bahamondes throws with bad intention. I'm excited to see who wins the foot battle right here. Who's on the front foot? Who's controlling the fight? Because when Ludovic Klein is at his best, he's the one controlling. He's the one bullying you up, beating you up. But that's Bahamondes' style. So I do think Klein is going to have to get this fight to the ground, because he's got some chops on the ground. We just haven't seen Bahamondes actually be put in a dangerous situation. Do you think he's going to be able to sprawl and brawl or actually hold his own on the ground, Derick?
Bahamondes, Sprawl and Brawl, yes sir. That's might as well be his middle name. Sprawl and Brawl Bahamondes, you know what I mean? Because you're right. Everybody knows they cannot sit here and just stand with this guy. They cannot let this guy fight at range. Once again, at lightweight, another freak of a frame. 6'3" at 155 pounds. That's just kind of ridiculous. This dude is taller than Tanner Boser, a light heavyweight. What are we talking about here? But that's neither here nor there, because honestly, there's something about Ludovic Klein that I know he came in Mr. Highlight, right? I guess that's the question. Who wins? Is it Ludovic Klein that can pick up a win, or is it Mr. Highlight? Because I kind of feel like Mr. Highlight needs to get put on display if he wants to win here.
I agree, Derick. And it's going to be one of those flashy moments that Ludovic Klein is able to pull out of nowhere. One of the counter shots, something spinning, something that Ignacio Bahamondes doesn't see. Because if he sees it, he's going to eat it right on the chin.
What does it mean to you that of the 2 losses that Ludovic Klein has, they've come to very interesting fighters, if you really think about it? Nate the Train Landwehr, right? And Michael Trezano, former Tough winner. Both of them, right? So the first one, to Trezano, that was just a major upset win. I remember when we saw it, where everyone was like, oh, what's going on? The other one, though, he got choked out, anaconda choked by Nate Landwehr, right? Ignacio Bahamondes, yeah, he's a striker, but my man also got some of those sneaky chokes. Do we see some submission coming out from Bahamondes?
Ooh, that's an interesting one, Derick. I don't think so, because I don't think Bahamondes wants to play with Ludovic Klein on the ground like that, but he can. Standing guillotine, he catches in something slick like that. I can see it happening, but what I've noticed, at least in the 2 fights you listed of Klein's that he lost, it was against pressure style of fighters, especially the Nate Landwehr one. You're putting him on his back foot. He doesn't do well. That's where I think Bahamondes finds his most success.
I think if there is going to be a submission opportunity here, it comes off of the aggressiveness of Ludovic Klein. You have to remember, when you try to take these guys down, these long, lengthy guys, that's when the guillotines come out. That's when the darces come out. That's when the anacondas come out. And I really do think Ignacio Bahamondes has the frame to get it done. But I guess my real question here, and I know we don't have to rock it, but what do you think about that plus 150 decision prop for Ignacio Bahamondes versus the finishing prop, the plus 292 TKO?
Just off the durability of Klein, I can see it happening. I mean, hasn't been finished by a knockout in at least his last 10. So I don't really like that so much, but I also don't see this one going to a finish, Derick. I don't see, with these two knuckling up all day long, I just don't see that happening. That's why I'm rolling Bahamondes and TKO. I can't see that. What do you think about that plus 650 sub? I know you were talking about submissions, but enough to put your money on it?
I just feel like he has to put Klein in danger enough on the feet to make him take desperation shots, and that's when the submission comes out. I don't know if he'll be able to do that. I really like Ludovic Klein. What I want everybody to realize here is, yes, it's easy to back Bahamondes. It's the sexy pick. He's tall, he's long, he's powerful, right? Ludovic Klein doesn't look it, but he has trap card written all over it, trap game. This is a guy who can spoil your parlays real quick. So you have to be very careful, because this is a man who knows how to win at a very high level. I'm going to back Bahamondes here. I'm not going to make a play for the prop. Give me the minus 210 money line. But just know, if there's going to be one that I would hedge on all of these, it would be Ludovic Klein winning over Ignacio Bahamondes. So keep that in mind, folks. And with that being said, we both like Bahamondes here. That is your main card, folks, for UFC Nashville. This is a high-level card. That's kind of the point that I think we were trying to make. It doesn't have the glitz and the glam of a numbered card, right? But it has a lot of new faces, old faces, familiar faces, people who are going to put on a hell of a show. And I wish I was in Nashville for that card. That's all I could say right there, bro. But, AJ, you know what time it is. Actually, we're doing pretty good on time. Let's jump into the coveted sleeper section where we're talking about the unknowns of today with the stars of tomorrow. Let's talk about it.
It's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
AJ, there's the A side of your sleeper. He goes by the nickname of Born Ready. This is a St. Louis guy right here, Sean the Sniper Woodson. My man has had arguably 3-4 opponents fall out before actually locking in the opponent he slated, at least, to fight here this weekend. Dennis Bazookia, don't know how to say it, but I know my man has been in the UFC mix for a little bit, but he finally calls his shot. AJ, talk to the people about your sleeper.
Folks, this is going to be a fun one. I'm pretty sure it's Bazookia, Derick, but I could be wrong as well. I chose this one for a sleeper, folks, because, yeah, Sean Woodson, we've seen him a couple times, but he's still on the come up. Now he gets a bad man in Bazookia coming in, and they call him a great. He's the great for a reason, because this dude is finishing fights, whether it's standing, on the ground, however you want it. Bazookia is there to fight. And that's why I like him, bro. Both of these fighters bring the pressure, and that's what makes one of these sleeper fights fun. Because yes, the talent is there for both of these individuals, but so is the finishing potential. That's why I like this one, folks. Tune in. You can see a lot of people are heavy on Woodson. Yeah, they same decision, but I'm looking for a knockout. I'm not leaning one way or the other because I think both these dudes are going to meet toe-to-toe in the middle of the ring, slug it out. It's going to be a fun night. What do you think, Derick? Are you leaning one way or the other with this?
I think this is going to be a banger, but I'll tell you what, Bazookia, right? If that's how you say it, my man is going to be hungry. And if Sean Woodson pulls any stunts like he did in his last fight where I shouldn't say he thinks, right? What was it? It was Saldana, actually, that was doing the walk-off weird stuff against Sean Woodson after like almost finishing him, correct? I think it was that way.
I think so.
Either way, you can't pull out any nonsense. You have to be ready to go. Actually, now that my memory is being jogged, it was. Sean Woodson did not look great in that fight and then got lucky, saved with a split draw, right? So you better be on for all 15 minutes against this guy. But I'll tell you, that's going to be a fun fight. AJ, I got a cheat code of a sleeper right here. I'm going to keep it short and sweet and simple, folks. I'm talking about Jeremiah Wells versus Carlston Harris. Now, folks, if you know anything about Jeremiah Wells, you know this man is an animal. This man is almost like a caricature of what just an athletic specimen should be. And if you're not able to finish him or put him unconscious, there's a highly likelihood that he is going to get the job done. And that's just how it goes. But guess what? We got a man who's suited for the task in Carlston Harris, a man who knows how to play upset, and a man who knows how to play spoiler, a man out of Guyana who's coming off of a victory against Jared Gordon. Yeah, he had a little bit of a setback before against Shavkat Rakhmonov, right? But let's not forget who Shavkat is. And then Impa Kasanganay got the finish there. Christian Aguilera, good wins. The point is, my man is multifaceted when it comes down to submissions and when it comes down to just straight finishes. But AJ, one thing that we have to talk about here is that Jeremiah Wells, man, is looking like a Terminator. He beat Semi the Jedi with a split, right? Even though they had to go hard-fought rounds right there. Knocked out Court McGee. Who does that, right? Blood Diamond submitted him, stopped that hype train. Warley Alves KO. The point is, someone has to go to bed in this matchup, right?
Oh, 100%, Derick. This one is absolutely a cheat code. You were right. When I saw you post it on Discord, I was excited. And you could even see, I don't know if you showed the Tapology, but even the fans see a knockout as a majority ending of this fight. This one's going to be a lot of fun. You can see they're going for Wells, but Harris, too, can also step in there and bang with the best of them.
That's right, folks. So that is your bar pitch on why you need to check out those fights, but there's plenty of good ones that you should watch. But if you're going to watch any, if you're like, it's crunching for time, don't know what fights to watch, well, guess what? Now you do. We got you covered. And with that being said, AJ, talk about a little bit of prelim pour-over that we got right here. We got a little bit of time. We only have a couple of minutes, but we have a little bit of time. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't know what you're waiting for, you should absolutely subscribe right now. Like I'm talking about right now as you're watching this, like hit subscribe real quick. All right, done? All right, perfect. Now, AJ, other really fun fights. The return of Kyler the Matrix Phillips. And this is not an easy comeback fight, man. He's fighting Raoni Barcelos. What do you think about this matchup here?
This one just is fun, Derick. There's a reason it's the highlight of the prelims because Raoni Barcelos is game amongst game, always down, even though he's kind of really fallen into that gatekeeper role. And Kyler, the Matrix Phillips, I mean, this dude's bringing everything. He's throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you. Like, this is going to be a fun fight. You running one way or the other with this?
It's tough because Kyler Phillips, remember, he's coming off that little bit of a layoff. There was some weirdness with PEDs or USADA. I never know what to make for fighters coming back from that. And then Raoni Barcelos, we know he's a guy who kind of at times fights to the level of his opposition, right? So I hope he views Kyler Phillips in a very high light, because if that's the case, we will see a highlight in this matchup right there. Pardon the pun. All right. AJ, this is probably my most coveted matchup here on the prelims. That could not be a sleeper, because it would be disrespectful to call either of these gentlemen a sleeper. We have Billy Q Quarantillo versus Damon Jackson. Now, first and foremost, AJ, I do believe it's Quarantillo, not Quarantillo. So apologies, you know what I mean? That's that west, that southwest coming out. But yeah, Quarantillo, Damon the Leech Jackson, man. You got a pressure guy in Quarantillo. You got a submission threat who can knock you out in the Leech Damon Jackson, who's looked damn good recently. I mean, what do you think?
Billy Q can knock you out, but he can also submit you, as well as Damon Jackson's more of a submission threat, but he can also knock you out too. This one's a fun one, Derick. As much as I'd love to see Billy Q win, I think the Leech can also get a dub here. This one's a very close fight.
And it's tough too, because we just saw a very violent realization of what that pure pressure style can do to you sometimes. And sometimes it doesn't work out. If you're fighting Edson Barbosa, it might not work out, because he's going to hit you with a knee that you don't see coming and slump you out. That's what happened. Do I expect Billy Quarantillo's style to be any different than what it was previously? No. I don't see not one hitch, nothing. He was winning the fight until he wasn't. That's the sad part. Mm-hmm. The thing about the Leech, though, is that he's long and lanky, just like Edson Barbosa. Or not just like Edson Barbosa, just like Billy Q is what I meant. Just like Billy Q. They're both long and lanky, right? So when you got the long and lanky guy and you're long and lanky, and that advantage gets taken away, those opportunities for those knees and all that crazy stuff still comes up. It's not the same highlight athleticism that Edson Barbosa has, but it's that, in a weird way, let me think, Kennedy Nzechukwu, for an example, he just brings the leg up and it just clips you. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to make a pick on this one, because both of these guys are so good, but I'm saying comeback season for my boy, Billy Quarantillo. What do you think?
I like it, Derick. I like it, man. I'm leaning him as well.
All right, man. And then the last one that I want to talk about on this show is going to be a grudge match. And we don't need to show this. I just want to talk Jake Hadley, Cody Durden, right? It's almost like we're in Fight Club, right? But we don't talk about Fight Club, because Fight Club doesn't exist, right? Right. Thought so. Cody Durden, man, he says, listen, you've been talking a lot of shit, bro. What's up, Jake Hadley? Let's fight. 3 days. I'm going to put it on you. The thing about Cody Durden, AJ, is that this dude is very skilled, but to me is a very cringy trash talker. So it's like nobody wants to hear the trash talk, but he can back it up with the best of them. So, I mean, what do you think? Is he going to take out the young gun, the 10-1 Jake Hadley, or what do you think?
Ooh, I don't know, man. Cody Durden, if you've seen him fight, you know this dude is in it. I believe it was his Ultimate Fighter fight where he was almost rocked and then coming back and get it. I can be mistaken him for somebody else. But either way, Cody Durden does absolutely bring the fight. But so does Jake Hadley. I mean, this one is going to be a barnyard scrap of two. Like, they're drunk in the back fighting. This one brings the crowd in. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath, and I'm actually going to be leaning Jake Hadley, Derick. I do think Cody Durden is a slobber knocker powerhouse fighter, but we'll see if the young boy can get him. What do you think?
I think that this is a tough fight to predict, because Cody Durden has proved now to be the guy that can just win. It's as simple as that. He can just win. It's not going to be pretty, not going to be flawless, but it will be effective. And for him to get that decision win against Energy Charles Johnson, especially on the tear that Charles Johnson's been on recently, was really impressive. Now, did he get submitted in the first round by Muhammad Makayev? Yeah, he sure did, man. So it goes to show, when you're going against that upper echelon, what's going on. We can't forget that Jimmy the Brick Flick, right? It did hit him with the flying triangle too once upon a time. So he's come back from that, and he's put on a hell of a streak recently. But Jake Hadley's really good, man. The thing that's interesting is if you look at Cody Durden's Tapology, it shows that he has another fight booked already. Against Bruno Silva. Yeah, so he's like, all right, well, I'll just beat up Jake Hadley and then fight Bruno Silva. I don't like that. I think that now Jake Hadley, might have earned him a couple points right there. Because if you look at, you remember that Malcolm Gordon, that was a really nice fight against Malcolm Gordon, Candelario fight. The one he did lose against Alan Nascimento, because Nascimento is a beast, and then Mitch Raposo. This is going to be a fun one. I don't really have anything else to say to that, but folks should probably tune in, right?
Oh, yeah, this one's going to be a very fun one. Like I said, like a backyard barnyard scrap, bro.
That's all right. All right. Well, with that being said, folks, now that is pretty much your whole card. UFC Nashville, something to look forward to. I feel like this was a fun episode, AJ. I feel like this one was hanging out in the backyard, talking fights that are very high level and heady, but bringing it down to where we just chilling, having a good time. And I hope that's the same vibe you get, folks, because that's what we're here to provide. Where we're here to win you money, to give you entertainment, and to educate you about the sport of mixed martial arts, a beautiful thing. AJ, any last words before we hop up out of here today?
Like I was saying before, Derek, these non-pay-per-view cards don't have the glitz and the glam of the numbered cards, but they are so much fun regardless because there's a lot of bangers on this card. Folks, if you're tuning in, make sure you're clicking that subscribe button, pressing the comments, likes, all that stuff. It really does help us grow this community. This one's going to be a fun one, Derek. I'm excited to see who actually gets on top. Folks, we didn't talk about it much in the pre or the lead up to this show, but the wager or the competition between Derek and I is getting very, very close. I'm feeling that heat, so we need some wins over on the Santa Fe Bomber side. But whether you're picking mine or you're picking my boy Derek's, either way, I know you're going to be winning money. So let's rock with it this weekend. I'm excited, Derek.
That's right. That's the key. And folks, if you want a little bit of a live look, just to show you that we're not joking around, I'm going to pull up the Google Sheets page right here. AJ, this is lifetime as of January 16th, 2021. Lifetime picks, right? I'm here rolling at 362, 234, 60% clip. You're at a 56% clip right next to me. But if we want to make it a little more interesting, this is the current numbers right here, brother. 58% on the year for me, 60 for you, 77 wins to 75 wins, brother. We were right there. So that is kind of the point that we're making. The competition is pretty much at a dead heat right now. We don't have too many more events for the rest of the year, but there's still a good 5 months ahead of us, AJ. So listen, we can't, what do they say? Don't count the chickens before they hatch, or something about roosting or whatever.
We finally
AJ,
got one right, Derek.
There we go. All right, AJ, take us out of here, brother.
Like Derek said, don't count your chickens before they hatch, but you can count on us to be here every single week, 2 shows a week. Like I said, hit that subscribe button, send it to your homie. Don't be a bad friend, and I'll see y'all on Fight Night.
All right, folks, that's it for us. Until next time, peace.